William slammed his notebook shut so hard that everyone in the conference room jumped. The sound was like a gunshot echoing off the walls. Everyone stopped talking immediately. The air became thick and heavy, suffocating almost. I looked up from my papers, feeling something bad coming toward me like a wave. William's face was red, dark red, and his eyes were locked on me like I had committed some terrible crime. He stood up slowly, pushing his chair back with such force that it scraped loudly against the floor. Every eye in the room turned to see what would happen next. Then he said it loud and clear, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife, like thunder in a quiet sky. "You are a complete waste of payroll." The words hung in the air. My face burned hot, hotter than I had ever felt it burn before. My vision blurred at the edges. My heart stopped completely. I could not breathe. Before I could even process what had happened or say anything back, the conference room door opened. An HR representative walked in holding a printed email. The paper was crisp and white. William's smirk completely disappeared from his face. His mouth fell open. He looked like he had just seen a ghost. I had never seen William scared before. In all the months I had worked there, he always seemed so confident and in control. He carried himself like he owned the place. Now his hand actually twitched when he saw the letterhead on that paper. His eye twitched too. He looked like he might be sick. He tried to step forward and grab it from the HR person, but they stepped back smoothly like they had expected this reaction. "I think we should discuss this privately, William," they said calmly, their voice steady and professional. The words were polite, but they were also a command. Everyone in the room was staring at me now. Their eyes were full of questions and confusion and curiosity. I could feel them wondering what was happening. I could feel them trying to piece together the mystery. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. I simply took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, counting the seconds. My hands were shaking under the table where nobody could see them, but I kept my face calm and neutral. Something had just shifted in that room. I could feel it in my bones. The power had changed completely. William had made his biggest mistake of his career. Let me tell you who I am, because you need to understand where this story really begins. My name is Talia Reeves, and I was 32 years old when this all happened. It was October when everything started falling apart. I worked as a project analyst at a marketing company downtown called Pinnacle Marketing Solutions. The building was tall and modern, made of glass and steel. I was the kind of person who showed up early and stayed late. I prepared for everything carefully, sometimes too carefully. I made lists and checked them twice. I kept detailed notes about everything. I was reliable. I was trustworthy. Or at least I thought I was. My first week at the job, William had shaken my hand without even looking at me in the eyes. He had just glanced down at our hands touching and then looked away. That moment should have warned me about what was coming. But I was too excited and too naive about how the world works. I wanted to prove myself to everyone. I wanted to show that I was worth hiring. I thought if I worked hard enough, everything would be fine. William saw that eagerness in me, that hunger to succeed, and he took advantage of it in ways I could not imagine at the time. The first time he humiliated me happened very quickly, just 2 weeks into my job. I had prepared a detailed report about our spring marketing campaign. I had spent 40 hours on that report. I had researched every detail. I was nervous but proud of my work. I presented it to the whole team in a meeting. There were about 15 people in that conference room. William sat at the head of the table. I was nervous but I began speaking. I was doing well, I thought. Then William interrupted me after just 2 minutes. He raised his hand and said loudly, "You talk too much. Keep the airspace clear for people who actually have something important to say." Some people in the room laughed. I felt my face go red, bright red. Inside I was breaking into pieces. The words stung like being hit with something sharp. I finished my presentation quietly, trying not to make any more mistakes. But everyone was looking at me differently now. They thought I was a talker. They thought I was annoying. They thought I did not deserve to be there. That was the first cut, and it was deep. After that first incident, I started noticing a pattern. Clear pattern. William would forget to invite me to meetings that I needed to attend. Then later, he would blame me for not knowing important information. He would take credit for my ideas in front of other managers. He would tell people that I was slow and that I did not understand the work. "Talia just doesn't get it," he would say casually, like he was stating a fact about the weather. First, I tried harder. I stayed later at work. I prepared more carefully. I thought if I just worked harder, he would see how good I was. I thought I could change his mind about me. Then one day I realized the truth. This was not about my performance at all. My work was actually good. Other people could see it. William needed someone to push around. He needed someone to feel powerful over. He had chosen me because I was new and because I wanted to do well. I was an easy target. I was vulnerable. That realization changed everything inside me. I made a quiet decision that nobody knew about. I decided to start documenting everything. Every mean comment. Every meeting I was left out of. Every time he took credit for my work. I created a private document on my home computer. I wrote down dates and times and the exact words he had said. I would come home at night and type it all down while it was fresh in my mind. I took screenshots of emails and kept copies of every report I submitted. I created a folder in my laptop at home called Documentation. I saved everything on a private device at home, not on my work computer. I did not tell anyone what I was doing. I did not confide in anyone. There was no anger in my actions. No desire for revenge. Just calm preparation. I knew that someday I would need proof. I knew that words alone would not be enough. So I quietly built my case, one piece at a time, like putting together a puzzle where I could not see the final picture yet. One morning about 3 months later, something interesting happened that made my strategy matter. I had submitted an important file to William's email on Tuesday morning at 9:15. I had a timestamp to prove it. I made sure to save that confirmation email. But on Wednesday afternoon, William stormed over to my desk screaming like I had done something criminal. "Where is the file I asked for?" he yelled loudly. "You never sent it. This is exactly the kind of lazy work I am talking about." Everyone in the office turned to look at me. Their eyes were wide. I felt small and embarrassed. But then I took a breath and centered myself. I looked at William calmly and said, "I actually sent it yesterday morning at 9:15. I have the email receipt in my inbox. Would you like me to show you right now?" William froze completely. He did not expect me to have proof. He did not expect me to push back or defend myself. His face got redder, impossibly redder, and he walked away without saying anything. In that moment I realized something important. He was not as powerful as he seemed. His power came from people being afraid to challenge him. After I showed him proof about the file, William changed his strategy completely. He stopped yelling at me in public where people could see and witness his behavior. Instead, he would make cutting remarks when we were alone in the hallway or in small spaces. He would whisper mean things about my work when nobody else was listening. He would say that I was not smart enough for this job. He would say, "I do not know why we hired you. But I was ready for this too." I kept a small notebook with me everywhere I went. I carried it in my bag like it was precious. After every conversation with William, even quick ones, I would write down exactly what he had said and what time it happened, what floor we were on, what he was wearing. I was careful and detailed about everything. I never missed anything. I would go into the bathroom and write down the exact words. William thought I was becoming smaller and quieter. He thought I was breaking under the pressure of his bullying. But the truth was the opposite. I was growing stronger and sharper. I was building something that he could not see coming. I was preparing my defense. About 5 months after I started at the company, I decided to visit HR. I was nervous and my hands shook as I walked down the hallway to their office. I had never been to HR before except to turn in paperwork on my first day. I did not think of myself as someone who complained or made trouble. But I knew I needed help. I knew I could not do this alone. I sat down across from the HR representative whose name was Marcus. He was kind and he listened without interrupting me. I said carefully, "I am not here to file a formal complaint today. Not yet anyway. But I need you to know what is happening. I need this on record so there is documentation." Then I showed them my documentation from the last 5 months. Their eyes got bigger and bigger as they read through everything. The notebooks, the screenshots, the email receipts. "How long has this been going on?" they asked. "Since my first month," I answered. "Maybe even before that, but I only started documenting it clearly after the first humiliation." They looked at me with a mix of sadness and anger. "You should not have had to do this," Marcus said. In that moment I could see that they believed me. The investigation officially began. After I went to HR, William started acting strangely. He became different, like someone had flipped a switch. He began hovering near my desk more than usual. He would appear suddenly and ask if I was doing okay, or if I needed anything. His voice was suddenly friendly and warm. It was so different from how he normally treated me. It was like he was acting a part in a play. But I could see through it completely. It was the friendliness of someone who smells smoke but cannot find the fire. He was nervous about something. He was worried, though he did not know exactly what. I could see it in his eyes. They kept darting around like he was looking for danger. I played along and acted like I had no idea what was happening. I would smile and say, "I am fine, thanks for asking." This made him even more uncomfortable. He would walk away looking confused. He would touch his neck like he could not breathe. I could see the worry in his eyes getting worse every single day. One afternoon while checking emails, I found something that made my heart stop. I was copied on an email thread that William had probably forgotten about. Maybe he made a mistake when typing the address. In the message, William was talking to another manager named Tomas about me. My heart stopped as I read the words. "Had to sit down. We need to get rid of her before she causes problems," William had written. "She asks too many questions and I do not think she is a good cultural fit." Below that was an attached document. It was a draft of false performance concerns. Fake reasons to fire me. Reasons that were not true. I took several screenshots immediately. My hands were shaking, but I made sure to capture everything perfectly. I took pictures with my phone too. I saved everything to my private folder. This email was proof. This email showed that William had planned to fire me before I ever did anything wrong. This email showed that he had created false reasons to do it. This was the piece I had been waiting for. This was the smoking gun. After I found that email, I made a decision to stay completely calm. I did not confront William. I did not tell anyone what I had found except for Marcus in HR. I sent him copies of everything. I did not let William see that I was scared. Instead, I kept showing up to work like nothing had changed. I arrived early and worked quietly. I was polite to everyone, including William. I smiled when I needed to smile. I acted normal in every way possible. Even HR told me to be patient and not to rush anything. "We need everything," they said. "We need to build a complete case against him." So I waited. I waited and I watched. Meanwhile, William was probably making plans to fire me. He thought he was in control of the situation. He thought he could get rid of me before anyone found out what he was doing. He did not know that I had already contacted HR. He did not know about my documentation. One Tuesday afternoon in February, William called me into a small conference room alone. My heart started racing as we walked down the hallway together. I had been expecting this moment, but that did not make it less scary. My palms started sweating. He closed the door behind us and I heard it click shut. He slid a thin folder across the table toward me. I could see my name printed on a label on the folder. "Your performance does not meet company expectations," he said in a steady voice. Too steady. Like he had practiced the words in the mirror 100 times. "We have decided to let you go, effective immediately. Security will escort you out of the building." My hands were cold. My stomach felt like it was dropping. But I did not panic. Took a breath. I simply looked at him and said, "I understand." He looked confused by my calm response. He expected me to cry or beg or argue with him. I did none of those things. He did not know that HR already had his email. He did not know that I had been preparing for this moment for months. Right after William told me I was fired, I made one final move. I stayed in that conference room for a moment, then I left. I did not go straight to my desk. I went directly to HR. I walked into their office and asked to see Marcus immediately. I told him that William had just fired me. I told him what had happened in that room. Within 1 hour, an email notification appeared in my inbox. It was from HR. The subject line said, "Mandatory. All hands meeting with HR and management. Tuesday 10 a.m. My phone rang immediately. It was the HR director named Patricia. "Do not leave the building," they said. "We need you here for this meeting tomorrow morning. This is important." William was getting very pale when he found out about the meeting. I watched him from my desk. He was talking to other managers, looking panicked and upset. He kept checking his watch. He was probably putting things together in his mind. He was probably realizing that something had gone very wrong. We were back in the same conference room where everything had started months ago. People filled the room again, taking their same seats. William was at the front, acting like nothing was wrong. But I could see his jaw was tight. His hands kept making fists and then opening again. I could see him breathing heavily. His collar looked like it was choking him. He kept tugging at his tie. Then he did it. He actually said it again, but even louder this time. Could not believe it. The audacity. The stupidity. He said, "You know what, Talia? You are still a complete waste of payroll. Nothing has changed. You are still the problem around here." His voice was shaking with anger. But I could also hear fear underneath it. Maybe he thought that humiliating me in front of everyone would make HR think I was unstable or difficult. Maybe he thought it would make him look like the strong one. Maybe he thought he could control the narrative. Maybe he was trying to intimidate me one last time. But he was unknowingly digging his own grave deeper and deeper with every word. I stayed completely calm. I did not react. I just looked at him like I was seeing him clearly for the first time. The door opened. Char walked in holding the printed email. Patricia held it in her hand. Her expression was serious and professional. William's entire face changed color instantly. He went from red to white in seconds. The HR director did not hand the email to William. Instead, they read it out loud. Word by word. Word by word by word. Everyone in the room heard it. They heard William's own words being spoken back to him. "We need to get rid of her before she causes problems," Patricia read clearly. "She asks too many questions." The room went completely silent. It was the kind of silence that feels like a thunderstorm building. I could hear people breathing. Someone gasped. I looked directly at William, and he would not meet my eyes. He looked at the floor. His face was bright red. His mouth opened and closed like he was trying to say something but could not find the words. His breath was coming in short gasps, like he could not get enough air. His hands were shaking. Everyone could see it. The director continued reading, showing the fake performance concerns he had created. They read the exact false reasons he had written. Lack of focus. Poor communication skills. Not a cultural fit. Lies. All documented lies. They explained how this was planned termination with false documentation. They explained how this might actually be against company policy and possibly illegal. Everyone was staring at William now. I could see people's faces changing as they realized what he had done. I could see the disgust in their eyes. I could see disappointment. Could see anger. His career at that company was ending right in front of everyone. Right in front of people he had worked with for years. After the meeting ended, HR pulled me into a private room. It was quiet and comfortable. The room had soft lighting and comfortable chairs. They brought me a glass of water and asked if I was okay. They offered me tissues. Their voice was gentle and kind. "We are very sorry that you have gone through this," they said. "Your professionalism has been noticed by everyone in this company. You have handled this with such maturity and strength. They asked me detailed questions about everything that had happened. I told them everything calmly and clearly. I did not get angry or emotional during the telling, even though I felt it inside me like a storm. I just spoke the facts in order. I explained how the bullying had started in my second week. I showed them exactly how he had treated me. I told them about every incident I could remember. The exact words, the situations, the witnesses. The HR team listened carefully and took notes. They wrote down every word I said. They also asked me about my documentation. They asked me to walk them through my process. You have done the right thing, Marcus told me. He said it firmly, like he needed me to hear it and believe it. This took courage. They told me that they would be escalating this case to the executives on the top floor. This was going to become a serious investigation that could go beyond just firing. They mentioned the possibility of involving lawyers. They mentioned legal consequences. Within 2 hours, the entire executive floor was buzzing with activity. Meetings happened behind closed doors. Urgent meetings. I could see people rushing around. People were talking in whispers in the hallways and conference rooms. Directors were pacing back and forth, looking worried and stressed. I could hear raised voices coming from offices. Someone even cursed loudly enough that everyone could hear. The HR team kept digging deeper into William's emails. They subpoenaed his complete email history. They got his work computer and his devices examined. They found more problems, more serious problems. There were financial inconsistencies in the budgets, missing approvals on budget transfers, money that had moved without proper permission. Thousands of dollars that could not be accounted for. They discovered that William had moved money from my project budgets. My project budgets that I had carefully planned. He had taken those funds and moved them to cover other expenses. It became clear that William had not just bullied me. He had actually broken company rules. He had bent policies. He had done things he was not supposed to do. He had misused company resources for personal reasons. He had purchased things, equipment that was never used. He had created fake invoices. My documentation had opened a much bigger door than anyone expected. A door to much bigger problems. A door to possible criminal activity. William actually stormed into the HR office 2 days later demanding explanations. He was angry and desperate. His hair was messy. He had not shaved. He was wearing the same shirt he had worn the day before. He tried to blame everything on me. He said that I was being difficult and that this was all miscommunication. He said that I had misunderstood his words. He even accused me of spying on him and of trying to make him look bad. He raised his voice. The HR director sat calmly and listened to him without interrupting. When he finished talking, when he had said everything he wanted to say, the director said just one sentence that seemed to break him completely. We have the full email chain, William. Multiple copies. Your complete communication history from the last year. Everything is documented. The color drained from his face like someone had pulled a plug. He staggered backward. He realized in that moment that it was over. There was no way to explain this. There was no way to fix this. There was no way to come back from this. His career was finished. The next morning, security came to escort William out of the building. Everyone watched silently as he carried a cardboard box filled with his things. His personal items. The pictures that had been on his desk. Photo of his family. The coffee mug his daughter had given him that said, "World's best dad." His eyes were red like he had been crying all night. His jaw was clenched so tight it looked like it might break. He would not look at anybody. He definitely would not look at me. He did not say goodbye to anyone. He did not try to explain anything. He just walked past my desk without saying a single word. I did not feel happy about it. I did not feel like celebrating. I just felt empty and tired. I watched him disappear through the glass doors of the building. And then he was gone. But the story was not over yet. There was still more to discover. There were still more consequences coming. The HR team kept investigating after William left, And they found something that shocked everyone. It turned out that William had used my projects to cover up missing money. He had taken budgets that were supposed to go to my projects and moved them to his own accounts. He had rearranged numbers in reports to hide what he was doing. He had used my careful documentation as a shield to hide what he was doing. He had falsified records. He had created fake invoices to justify the money transfers. My attention to detail had accidentally exposed his financial crimes. My documentation had been so thorough that it revealed patterns of theft that went back 2 years. 2 years of stealing from the company. 2 years of lying about where the money was going. The executives called me into their office on the top floor. I had never been to the executive floor before. It was impressive and intimidating. The walls were made of glass. You could see the whole city spread out below. The buildings downtown. The river in the distance. They looked serious and grateful at the same time. They were sitting around a large conference table. All of them turned to look at me when I walked in. "Your record-keeping saved this company from major financial losses," they told me. "We have calculated that you may have prevented over $200,000 in further theft. You may have prevented something much worse from happening. We are considering reporting this to the police. We may need you to be a witness." He nodded. I did not say much. I just listened. This was bigger than I had ever imagined. The executives made me an offer that changed everything about my life and my future. They created a brand new position just for me. They called it Quality and Compliance Project Lead. The job was to oversee documentation, ethics, and company procedures. It was basically everything that William had mismanaged and broken during his time there. I would have a team. I would have authority. They were giving me more money. 50% more than I was making before. More responsibility. More respect. More value. They were giving me a team of 5 people to lead. I did not celebrate or scream with joy. I did not cry happy tears. I did not jump up and down. I just took a deep breath and nodded. I said, "Yes, I will take the position. Thank you." That was all I said. But inside I was finally breathing. Finally feeling safe. Finally free from the constant stress and fear that had been following me for months. A few days after I accepted my new position, an official letter arrived at my desk. Came in the mail. It was not from William. It was from the company itself. From the leadership team. From the CEO. The letter was formal but kind. It acknowledged what I had endured. It acknowledged the harm that had been done to me. It acknowledged my professionalism during an incredibly difficult situation. It apologized for not catching the problem sooner. It apologized for allowing it to continue for as long as it had. The letter was handwritten and signed by the CEO himself. His name was Marcus. He had written a personal note. He wrote, "Talia, you showed more courage than most people ever will. I am sorry. I did not frame it or hang it on my wall. But I kept it. I put it in a safe place at home where I could find it if I ever needed to remember that I was right. That I had done the right thing. That my documentation had mattered. My first meeting in my new office happened in the same conference room where everything had gone wrong. The same table. The same chairs arranged in the same way. But this time everything was different. Everything had changed completely. This time I was leading the meeting. I was the one asking questions. I was the one making decisions. I was the one in control. I was the one whose voice mattered. And nobody interrupted me. Nobody made jokes about how I talked. Nobody criticized my ideas. Nobody rolled their eyes. They listened. They took notes. They asked for my opinion respectfully. They valued what I had to say. They respected my expertise. When I spoke, the room was quiet and respectful. People leaned forward to hear me better. People nodded along with what I was saying. They asked thoughtful questions. They built on my ideas. That was the moment when everything finally felt real. I had not just survived. I had actually moved forward. I had actually grown. I had actually won. Not won in a competitive way, but won in the way that matters. I had taken my pain and turned it into power. I had taken my documentation and turned it into change. I had taken my quiet voice and turned it into one that people listened to. I walked out of the building late that evening, and the sun was warm on my face. It was a beautiful day. The sky was turning orange and pink as the sun went down. Shades of purple were appearing at the edges. It was one of those perfect sunsets that makes you stop and appreciate being alive. I did not feel triumphant or smug. I did not feel like I had won a game. I did not feel mean or happy about William's downfall. I just felt steady and grounded. I felt certain about who I was, certain about my value, certain about my worth. I knew that no one could take that away from me anymore. Some people destroy themselves by underestimating you. Some people think that quiet means weak. Some people think that kindness means you are easy to break. Some people think that careful documentation and patience are weakness. William learned all of these lessons too late. He learned them too hard. He learned them the way people learn lessons when there are consequences. You do not win by shouting loudly. You do not win by being the angriest person in the room. You win by letting the truth speak louder than anyone ever saw coming. You win by being patient. You win by documenting everything. You win by staying calm. I had let the truth speak for me. I had documented everything carefully. I had stayed calm and professional. I had refused to break. And the truth had set me free. I never looked back. I walked toward my car and my future, and I knew that things would be different now. Better now. Stronger now.